do I need to have a better computer chip? Do I need a better graphics card? And quite frankly, the answer to that is not cut and dry. It's not as easy as, okay, if you're running iRacing, then you got to have a really good graphics card. Or if you're running iRacing, you have to have a really good computer chip. It kind of depends on how you're going to run iRacing. If you are running triple monitors and higher resolutions, meaning 2K or higher, 1440p, you're going to want to have that really strong graphics card. With that said, you can't just simply have the good graphics card if you're going to run those resolutions if you intend to have higher frame rates. So in most cases, if you're going to have a really high-end graphics card, you're going to want to have a higher-end CPU. And the reason being is, let's say for instance you get a 2080 Super, and then you buy something like a Ryzen 5 2600, which is a fantastic chip, mind you. However, it's not going to allow you to get the most out of your graphics card. Okay, now the other end of the spectrum, should you have a computer chip that's stronger? There are certain applications where, yes, you're going to want to have a stronger computer chip. So let's talk about the computer chip. In iRacing, single core count high speeds are what's necessary if you're going to run VR or if you're going to run high refresh rate monitors. And when I say high refresh rate monitors, I'm talking about 144 frames, 240 frames, which a lot of people are doing these days. Something like that, you need a really high-end computer chip to do that. Now, iRacing is kind of funny and a little bit different than the majority of games out there. There's a lot of calculations going on in the background, which are dedicated to your computer chip. So the faster your computer chip is, the more efficient it's going to run in iRacing. If I was building a PC today and I wasn't quite sure exactly how I was going to be running iRacing, what I would do is I would go higher on the computer chip than on the graphics card. Simply because you can always change out the graphics card later to something a little stronger. With the computer chip, yes, you can still trade it out as well, but it's a little bit, you got to do a little bit more to it. So it makes a little more sense to start out with a graphics or with a computer chip that's a little higher end. Because if you start out with a higher end graphics card, remember what I said earlier, you're not really going to get the performance out of your graphics card because your computer chip is going to be bottlenecking it. So if you can only go higher end on one part, go against the grain of what people tell you that graphics card is what matters most. Get the computer chip. Now you can look at this build right here that I just did. It's a 9600KF high-end computer chip. High-end computer chip. I have it overclocked to 4.8. And I'll show you some benchmarks on that as well. The i9600KF at 4.8, I'm going to show you where it's surpassing the 9900K. Now, of course, this is overclocked, so it's not the out-of-the-box configuration. Out of the box, the 9600KF comes 4.6 on one core, and the other ones, while running iRacing, will be at 4.3. The 4.8 overclock is across the board. So that's another reason why you want to overclock. But of course, you got to do it sensibly. As you can see on the graph here, it's liquid cooled, so that way it'll keep it down. Hey, what's going on, Rich? How you doing? So what we have here is we have a 9600KF overclocked to 4.8, and we have a GTX 1650 Super overclock. A lot of guys will first say, well, man, that's not a very well-balanced PC. However, for iRacing, it actually is, because iRacing does not take a lot of graphical hardware to push it. It needs a computer chip that's going to do the calculations so that it can propel the frame rates pretty high, which you're going to see here in a moment. So let me break out my NDI, which is on my trusty cell phone here, so that I can, first off, I'll show you the PC, and then we'll go to,
That's my messy desk, boys.
Okay, so this is the desk, or this is the, obviously the computer. It's got the GTX 6. Hold on a second. I don't want to double tap you with the audio files.
Alright, so now we have the audio coming out of one. Okay, so we got the case here, and we got, you know, it's liquid cooled, you know, that way it can allow me to get the most overclocking possible. So we got 3 fans in the front, we got, you know, the 2 fans on the radiator, which I put up high, and of course we got an exhaust fan back here. And we have the GTX 1650 Super. We got a Cooler Master liquid cooler, and it's on an ASRock Z390 motherboard. If you are going to be doing a K-chip Intel, a good motherboard is the ASRock Z390, which I'll show you what it looks like for those of you who go to the store. These are all my graphics cards and stuff. But that's what the motherboard looks like if you're buying it at the store. ASRock Z390 Steel Legend. They give fantastic out of the box overclocking ability for all the ones that I've seen so far, or that I've done so far. Okay, so enough about that. There's a keyboard I just have that I'm doing that one in mine. But okay. So first off, let's take a look at the benchmark, or what we got in here, though, just so you guys can see. So we have a 9600 KF right here. The motherboard is an ASRock Z390 Steel Legend. Memory is 16 gigabytes, as you can see up here. It's 3200 speed. That's 1600 on one, 1600 on the other. 3200 speed. And the graphics card, like I said earlier, is the GTX 1650 Super. Now, let's go ahead and benchmark this. We'll compare it to the 9900K. Remember, I stated how you can get just as much performance out of these 9600 KFs after overclocking. So you can see there, 9600 KF. You can see it's multi-threaded score on the bottom, which is useful for things like if you're streaming or you're doing video editing and stuff like that. But the top one that we're most interested in is the CPU single thread, where you can see it's at 543. So let's go ahead and do a live benchmark right now. Now, like I said, this is of, and I'll show you over here, they're at 100% right now because I have it benchmarking each core. And you can see how, you know, obviously it's got only 6 cores. The 9900K has more, so you can have a lot of different multi-threaded score. But take a look up here at the single thread score of 575 to 543. So as you can see, the 9600K is beating the 9900K after overclocking fairly significantly. Now the 9900K can be overclocked as well. So this is the 9600K beating it out of the box. Okay. Now the 9900K, it'll advertise 5.0 turbo, but don't believe that. That's 5.0 if you're web browsing. If you're running on the if you're running iRacing, it's going to drop to 4.7 on all cores. All right, so I got this out here to show the temperatures and whatnot. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start up iRacing. Start up iRacing. What's running right now on the Oval? Probably K&N series. We'll go straight to the K&N? Yeah, K&N should be. Just something so we can see what the frame rates are. Alright, watch. And this is customer Matt Coles. But the idea here is to show you guys what iRacing really likes, and you're going to probably be pretty astounded by the frame rates on this 9600K after overclocking. With the GTX 1650 Super, which is more or less about $160 graphics card. You know, with taxes and shipping, it might be a little bit more, but you're getting a lot of performance out of it. So let's bring this up, and I'll show you the. Let's see here. Okay, so let's show. It is live. It's not a replay. It's a live race that's going on right now, and we are in cockpit mode. So let's go ahead and take a look at the frames per second. Let's go. First off, let's see what the graphics are at. Now the graphics are not on all high settings. We're 1080p, one monitor. As you can see, we got a mix of medium and high. We have the max cars set at 20, but no limit on the frame rate. And you know, the middle, we pretty much got everything checked. And on the other side as well. So, just so you can give a reference to what we're running. I would consider this high settings. We have a few things on medium, but it's pretty much mostly high settings. Okay. So, let's take a look at what we're doing here. How you doing, Ryan? So we're going down the front stretch right now where it's rendering the pits and the crowd. So you see it drop to 320 frames per second. Now we're going around turns 1 and 2 and going down the back stretch. So of course you're going to see those numbers go up a little bit. See that? They're at 400 and some, 420. So yes, this is single monitor, 1080p. At, you know, roughly, you know, if you're going on the front stretch right now, you're going to still expect about 300 and some frames per second. Now, the reason why you're getting so many frames per second here instead of probably what a lot of you guys expected is because that computer chip is running so fast, right? So that's why. That's what I was telling you in iRacing. Your computer chip, iRacing likes the computer chip over graphics card, which you're seeing right here. This is, like I said, this is live. This is nothing going on here. Okay, so a lot of people may question, okay, so, you know, isn't overclocking a little dangerous? As long as you cool it properly, it's not. And what I'm going to show you now is what the temperatures are while it's running. This guy just crashed, so we better get on somebody else. There we go. Again, we're live, and we're running the 400 and some frames per second. Hey, Corey. No, Corey, we just went over it. On triples, you're probably going to be looking at about 150. With it, 150, 200. Okay, so you can see right now, I have it overclocked to what I said, 4800, 4.8. And look at the temperatures. And this is overclocked. You're looking at what, mid-40s? Mid-50s at max? That's what you're looking at. You know, of course, you want someone who knows what they're doing overclocking so that you can continue to keep these lower thermals while you're racing, you know. So don't let anyone tell you that you can't overclock. I would say that most of you guys under gaming load, which this is right now, is right around the same, or probably even higher actually. So, and then you're looking at the cores down here, and this is why you don't need like a 9700K or a 9900K. A 9600K is just fine. If you take a look down there, CPU number 5 is getting worked over. Look at that, 84%, 87%, and then you have the other cores which aren't working as hard. If you guys see that. So that's why I say, in my opinion, the 9600K is by far the best gaming chip available. So again, we're getting 400 frames per second. More, almost 500 there. With a GTX 1650 Super, mostly due to this overclock that I have on this computer chip. And all computer chips with FEG come overclocked. So we can cut that out now. So I just wanted to show that to you guys. Graphics card doesn't mean anything if you don't have the proper, if you don't have a good computer chip. Okay, let's go.
There we go. So we're going back to me now. So I'm going to go ahead and look at some of this. Right, Haas and VR. Yes, the 9600 KF I was talking about earlier is by far the best VR capable chip. The 9700K, 9900K can also typically overclock to just as high in most cases, but they're not needed, as you saw in the cords there. But if you're streaming or you do other stuff, video editing, stuff like that, then of course the extra cores become in handy. Or maybe you play other games that will use more cores. But I'm talking specifically towards iRacing here. Eric is asking me what software is that. The software to do the are you talking about to check the thermals and stuff? That is called HW Monitor, and CPU-Z is the one I did to do the benchmark there. No, right, you don't need a GTX 1080. Like I was just saying earlier, the graphics card for VR has very little significance. Simply because if you take now, graphics card and monitors does make a difference. In VR, it does not make that much difference because low settings in VR and high settings in VR on the left-hand side of the graphics tab that I just showed you, there's not much perceptible difference. Where you see the difference in how it looks graphically is in your DX11 file where you change to PPD, which is the pixels per density. And everyone who buys a PC from me in VR, I set it up for VR for them. So when it comes to them, they're going to get the best picture that their computer's capable out of the box. So, but I just wanted to show you guys that the 9600K with a GTX 1650 Super, you saw it right there, 400 frames per second. On triples, it would give, 150. Probably down the front stretch, 200 at other places. Take it in about half. Ideally, people will say, yeah, you're going to have to cut it in thirds, but that's not really the case. Probably about half is what you'll be doing. So yeah, maybe this was informative to you. Maybe it wasn't. I'm the owner of FEG PC. I sell a lot of PCs to iRacers. It can be anywhere from 80 to 120 PCs a month, including iRacing staff. As you guys know, I've built PCs for 2Peak Pro drivers. I built them for iRacing staff themselves. Tons of pro drivers. I just built a PC and shipped it off to engineer for Chase Elliott. I do a lot of stuff. A lot of people, but the majority of people are guys just like me and you who are looking to iRace for fun, and that's what I'm here to do is get you guys a good computer that will do what I say it will do, and I'll show it in these videos. If I say it's going to do it, it's going to do it. You're looking at VR. This would be a very, very capable VR system, just how it is. Just remember, like I said, if you can only go high-end on one piece, contrary to most other games, get that higher-end computer chip because that's what iRacing likes. You just saw the 400 frames per second on the GTX 1650 Super, which a lot of people would have guessed that you might only be able to get 100 frames per second, but that's not the case. The computer chip, for the most part, is the deciding factor. No, Tim, the FPS does not equal a better crisp picture. It does not. What will help you as far as having a better crisp picture on monitors is just a higher resolution monitor. If you're on 1080p, you're just going to get 1080p. And it also has a lot to do with your monitor size. A 27-inch monitor size at 1080p is going to look much better than a 49-inch ultra-wide monitor at 1080p. Simply because those pixels are going to have to stretch out more. There's no more pixels involved. It's just they have to stretch out more. Now, if you're talking about VR, Most VR units are capped, so you're not going to get 120 frames per second unless you have the Valve Index. So what makes the most difference for crispness in VR is your what's called PPD, pixels per density, PPD, and that you can change in your DX11 file. Cost. Dan Silva's asking the cost on this one right here. You can private message me the cost on this one, and I will give you all the specs that are in it. That way the cost of it actually makes sense to you. Because right now all you have is a few items on there. I'd like for you to know exactly everything that's in it. Because some things you might not like. You might not want the RGB lighting in there, which will save you some money. You might not want the more premium case that this one's in. So, what else? Yeah, Joseph, I already talked about how the i9 9900K will not perform any better than this 9600K. But if you're doing a lot of streaming or you're doing some video editing and stuff like that, of course the extra cores are helpful. Or if you're running different games, of course. Matt, I will optimize it for VR as soon as I'm done with this video. You're welcome, Tim. That's what I'm here to do. Just impart some knowledge, and believe it or not, I also get a lot of knowledge back from you guys as well. Michael Spence asks, why bother messing around with an i5? It's been made basically worthless. When I'm done with this video, go ahead and rewind and take a look at, then look back at your statement there. iRacing typically only uses one core to the max and two other cores just partially. So an i5 in this generation, which is 6 cores, is plenty for iRacing. It's basically overkill, honestly. An i7 and i9 is more useful for other things and possibly other games, but for iRacing, an i5 is not only going to be excellent right now, as you just saw, it's going to be excellent for a long time. It's not, Joseph. The IPC on all 9th gen computer chips are the same. Hey, right, nice to meet you too, buddy. Matt wants to. Yes, I'll make the I'll make the dialog box go away. But me personally, I like to be able to click yes or no, because if I'm like doing changes inside the garage, I like to just do it on the flat monitor. So sometimes I like to open it up and click no. But yes, I can do the dialog box for you, so where it bypasses the question, do you want to go on VR for you? So. I don't know, John. I don't know what PC you have, but it could possibly be way overkill. Depends on how you're using it. Only you would know that. But anyway, I appreciate you guys watching here. Just keep in mind, if you have to make a decision between a higher end CPU or a higher end GPU, in almost all cases, with iRacing in mind, it's going to be the CPU that you should go all out with first, and then after that, get the graphics card. So anyway, I do appreciate everyone stopping in and taking part in today's thing, and I like to do this every now and then to tell you a little bit of what I've learned over the years in building PCs. So John says 3700X is a fantastic PC. In fact, I have one myself. I don't use it much, but it's a great PC with a lot of cores, 8 cores and 16 threads. So it's really, really nice. And I actually think I have the same SSD as you have too, just not the 2 terabyte version. So yeah, it's a good PC. So all right. I appreciate you sending me a friend request. However, I keep all my I kind of like to keep my personal Facebook just for me and my family, because I post a lot of pictures of my kids and stuff like that. And my actual job, I'm a federal agent with the government, so I don't like to I don't friend anybody. However, I do private message with everybody. So if that makes sense, I just kind of like to keep my personal life personal uh, on there. So don't take it to heart if I don't accept your friend request, which I won't. But indeed, if you ever need anything, you can give me a holler, and I will certainly assist you. Yeah, Michael, I'm referencing everything in to iRacing. Gamers Nexus is awesome though. I like it. And the i5s right now are not 4 cores; they're 6 cores. The i5s dating back to the seventh generation series are 4 cores. They're now 8. They're now 6 cores. All right, fellas. I'm going to go ahead and cut this short. If you guys have any other questions, you can private message me, and I'll be sure to hook you up. If you or anyone you know needs a computer, you can just simply go to fegpc.net and just go to the contact form. I ask a few questions on how you're going to utilize iRacing so I can create a build that makes sense for you without costing you a ton of money. So, all right, fellas, you guys take care, and I do appreciate all of you guys for taking part in today's um, stream. Thanks, guys. Take care.